Today we're going to go over how to properly secure a load of sheet steel to Decker truck line standards. So I've got my 2 lifts of sheets. Now we want you to spread them out like this if at all possible. If you don't have to stack sheet steel, you should not stack it. The more you stack, the higher you stack, the slipperier it is, and the easier it is for that load to shift. If you can keep it on the deck, that is the most stable. It lowers your center of gravity, and it's less likely to go anywhere. Yes, it does require sometimes getting out both of your steel tarps as opposed to one, but the extra 15 minutes you spend putting your second steel tarp on could save you hours dealing with a load shift, hours dealing with an upset customer for damaged product, or a lifetime of regret if somebody actually gets hurt because that load comes off and hits somebody. So the first thing I want to do with this is strap it down and get my securement chains on. Whenever it comes to securement, just think you're building from the bottom up. So I'm going to go get my straps thrown over and get my securement chains over the top. At Decker, we require a minimum of 2 straps and 1 crossover chain on every lift of steel. Now, if the weight is over what 3 pieces of securement will cover, then you add 4. And everything we calculated 8,000 pounds. So I'm going to grab my 4 straps. I'm going to try and keep my, because I've got 2 lifts, I'm going to try and keep my straps as close to the edge as possible. Just fling them over the load, like so. Now I'm going to get my edge protectors and put them in place. Sheet steel, imagine it like hauling razor blades. You'll slice through this strap, no time flat. Always, every time you have an edge, you must have an edge protector under it, no matter what you're hauling. Now I'll come over to this side. I go ahead and feed my straps through and line up my winches where I need them. I get in the habit of doing this so that when I get to the end, I don't find out that I've got 1 extra strap and I left a winch back here that I can't get to. And then I've got to redo all my straps to get that 1 winch moved to the front where I need it. And then once again, edge protection. So I got my straps through, I got my winches where I need them, I can go ahead and start putting the straps in the winches. Okay. So I just pull my strap through my hand, feed it through the winch, come back out like this, roll up my slack, like so, tuck this in behind the strap, bring it up to about where it's even with the bottom of the stake pocket. It's a good point so it doesn't end up feeding into the winch. Pull my back slack out even, tighten it up by hand. Take my bar and secure it. Notice this one's starting to slide out, so I'll simply push it back up in, tighten. If I need to, I can take the back side of my bar right up underneath my strap and tap that corner into place, because my next click will bring it back out just a little. Good and tight, still in place. And my straps are in place. Now I'm going to get my chains out and a couple of coil pads for my crossover chains. You want to put the pads underneath your crossover chains so you do not damage the product. Kind of like ordering a TV through FedEx. Just because it shows up, if you damaged it on the way there and it don't work, you don't want it, right? Customer's the same way. You damage their product getting it there, it doesn't matter that you got it there, it's junk by the time it shows up. Since I have my pad in place, make sure there's nobody on the other side. Throw my chain straight over and it's right above the rubber pad, so I'm not damaging the steel in any way. Coming over, go to the other side and I'll secure my chains to the trailer. Now, since this is where I want my chain, center of my bundle, I'm going to utilize the stake pocket. I'm going to do that by going down through on the outside of the stake pocket, back up through the middle, hooking to the opposite side. This way I'm pulling up on this side of the pocket, down on this side, and I'm utilizing the full strength and integrity of the pocket. Set that there. Got my corner protectors on the other side. Here, to be centered, I'm going to utilize a spool. For the spool, I take my loop hook, go around the spool, and hook the chain back to itself, making sure that I keep the hook up off of this edge. Because that little pin is the only thing holding that hook onto this chain. And if you've got it grinding down here, you'll end up breaking that off. Once the hook comes off, the chain comes apart. So keep it up off the edge. All right. So since I used the spool on that side, I'm going to utilize the same spool on this side, because I want my chain going straight across. And I utilize this stake pocket back here, so in order to keep everything straight across, same thing. Down on the outside, up through the middle, hook it on the other side. Corner protector in place, And I'll go take these back over to the other side and put these in place. All right, I'm gonna set my two binders up here. Now, with the width of this steel, I can't put my binder down here, because as you can see, the handle will be over the edge. And I cannot break the plane of this side. I also can't go like this to get the handle up there, because I don't want to bend my binder over an edge. So in this situation, I must put my binders up on top. So now I'll get up on top and secure them. Two hands, step up, hand on the trailer, climb up with your knees. Don't jump up, don't jump down. Your knees will thank you after a few years. Now, when deciding where to place my binder, I want to look at where's the safest place to be. If I set it like this, when I'm snapping it down, I'm going off the side of the trailer. So I want to set it as far this way as I can. This way, if I would lose my balance while snapping it, I've got a whole lot more real estate to land on versus ending up on the ground. I've got all this trailer in here to catch me. Place my bar on the binder, step over here, pull down. Never put your face in line with where this could pop open, because if it does pop and snap up, you don't want to hitting you in the jaw. That could do real damage real fast. This bar has no feelings. Then I'm just going to take my excess chain and I'm going to lay it out on top of the rubber, just like so, and then I'll tarp it over later. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Set my binder the way I want it. Attach it right there. Now see how that's way too, I will never get that snapped. And over tightening a chain is ridiculous. You want it tight, but the problem is, if you put 7,000 pounds of pressure against a chain that's going to break at 8, it only is going to take 1,000 more pounds to break it. So don't put all that excess strain on it. Tight enough to secure the product, not so tight as to overstress your securement equipment. Come down here. And then once again, I just lay my chain out right there on my rubber. So now that I've got my securement done, it's time to get into the trip chain. The one piece on this thing that is going to save your life and is an absolute must when hauling sheet steel with this company. All right, so now I'm going to take my binder and I'm going to set it out here in the open position. That way I know how far to choke up my chain. With this, I want to choke it up as much as I can to use up as much slack as I can to make my slack loop smaller, and you'll see why that's important here in a second. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find the first spool in front of my steel. Go down around the spool. Choke it up to where I'm almost touching my chain. Hook right there and stop. And I'll do the same thing with the other side. Hooking to the same point. Hook that right there. Hook that to there. Hook that right there. Way too tight. Still too tight. It never fails. When you jump two, you lose what you had. All right, that should be good right there. I'll take my bar, place it on here. Now, since I'm so close to the edge, because I have to have this in the center, I'm going to plant myself down here on my knee. Makes me a lot more stable. Bind that down. I take my slack and my chain, lay it right up here on top of the steel, and place 2 more corner protectors right here where it crosses the steel. So now I'm going to take my final chain, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to feed it through this slack loop, I'm going to come back to the farthest point I can back here without crossing my securement strap, because I don't want to interfere with that. So that would be this spool right here. Feed it up through there like that. Hook it back to itself. I'm going to pull that tight. Now I'm never going to get an edge protector to stay in here. But what I can do, take one of my coil pads, slide it up underneath there like this, and that will perfectly protect everything, and it keeps my chains from rubbing on each other right here. So now I'll take my other end of my chain, come back to the same point on this side, all right, like I said, I'm going to attach this one on this side. Now, since I've got my strap spooled in here, I can't get my hook through, so what I did is I loosened it up. I'm going to pull my slack up out. Bring my chain down around. Now I can put this back in there. And when I get down, I can tighten that all back up. So now I'm going to get my last rubber pad, my last binder. I'll place my rubber pad underneath my chain on this side to protect the steel over here. All right, like that. Place my binder in here. Fine tune everything just a little bit. Come over here. Snap that down. Now everything's shifted to tighten up, so now she's a little loose. So all I've got to do, open her back up. Now I can pull it ahead and grab one more link. Lock that down tight. Lay my chain out just like so. That chain is pulling back on this. This is bound in, blocking the front from forward movement. There is no way that this product is going to come forward at this point. You have successfully created a forward movement barrier. So now that I've got this in place, all I got to do is come back down here, tighten this one that I loosened up back up. And now the load is secured, ready to be tarped. So now we're ready to tarp our load. First and foremost, this front edge and back edge are super sharp. And I don't want to cut holes in my good steel tarp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these old padding tarps that were issued out, flip one over the front, flip one over the back. That will give me 4 or 5 layers of tarp here that it will have to cut through before it can get to my good tarp. That's the one protecting my load from the moisture. Now I'll grab my steel tarp, start in the back. Since I folded this the same way I fold my lumber tarps, I'm going to find my outer edge, which is the one with the D-rings on it, so I can set my center of my tarp down the center of my load. I'll go ahead and stretch my tarp out. Now I can get down on the ground and I can go ahead and bungee it down. So now I'm going to grab 4 bungees and I'm going to secure my 4 corners of my tarp. Now since I'm out on the end with no tarp in the way, I'm going to go ahead and just go right through the hook to the D-ring out here on the end, because in this situation I don't have to worry about that hook poking a hole in my tarp. Come back here. Now on the back of the trailer I don't have a lot of options, but what I do have is this bumper. That's bolted on solid, it ain't going nowhere. So if I pull this down and around, hook it like that, do the same thing on the other side, keeping in mind I'm never actually looking at my pull, I'm always pulling away from myself. So if it breaks, it's going to hit me in the back. So now that I got my 4 corners secured, I can go down the side of my load, tucking my tarp up underneath. While I'm on this side, I'm going to do a few bungees on this side, because you can't bungee one side without doing the other, otherwise you'll just pull the tarp off. And you've got it perfectly centered right now. I'm just getting these hung where I want them. I'll leave that one over there. So now, here's one, skip one, go to this one here. I'm just going to hook that there. I'll come down here, skip one, come to here. Just doing every other one or every third one. He said you don't want to try and do them all, because that'll just pull the tarp this way. So now I'm back to this side over here, my final side. Go ahead and tuck it up under. Grab my bungees from here. And it came up one short, so I'll go up to the truck and grab another one. So since I've done every other one on that side, I can go ahead and work my way down this side and just do them all. Okay, now I can come back over here and finish up. There we are. And I'll throw me a 4-inch cross front. Feed my strap through. Roll up my tail. Tuck it down in behind, just like so. Line everything up, lay it out. And that, no way that's coming out of there, cause you a flapper going down the road. And there you have it, a secured, tarped load of sheet steel. Each and every step that I've performed is important, and it is not optional. These are Decker truck line standards, and they must be followed with every load. If you don't feel you have the time, you need to make the time. Because as I said before, no one's life, not yours or anybody else's, is worth it if you cut corners.